So you clicked because you want to see the rarest animal on Earth. Good. Because in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you something so rare that more people have walked on the moon than have ever seen some of these creatures alive. But here's the strange part. The rarest animal on Earth isn't the panda. It isn't the tiger. It isn't even that bizarre deep sea fish people keep putting in thumbnails. In fact, it might not even have a name. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why scientists are terrified that somewhere on this planet there could be a creature that is already the rarest animal possible. And we don't even know it exists. Quick question, how many animals need to be left before we call something rare? 1,000? 100? 10? 5? What if I told you the answer isn't 10 or 5 or even 2, because the rarest animal possible is measured in 1. But before we get there, we need to talk about a number that should never exist. Imagine the entire history of life on Earth as one giant book. Billions of years, millions of pages. Every species that has ever existed gets a single line. Most species live, most species disappear, that's normal. But a tiny handful of species don't just get a line, they get a footnote. And that footnote says there was only one left, and then nothing. No sequel, no chapter 2, just silence. Let's start with the animals that almost hold the title. Meet the vaquita, a tiny porpoise found in one small corner of the Gulf of California. Right now, fewer than 10 remain. 10, you could fit every living vaquita into a swimming pool. And what's heartbreaking is that they are not disappearing because people are hunting them. They're dying by accident. Fishing nets intended for other animals are killing an entire species by mistake. But as tragic as that is, the vaquita isn't the rarest animal on Earth. Not even close. Then there's the Saola, sometimes called the Asian unicorn. And here's the crazy part. No scientist has ever observed one alive in the wild. Not once. Almost everything we know comes from camera traps and local stories. It's one of the most mysterious large mammals on Earth. But even the Saola isn't the rarest, because rarity isn't just about how few there are. It's about something much more terrifying. Scientists have a word that many of them hate saying out loud, a word heavy enough to make conservationists go silent. Endling, the final living member of a species, one individual, no mate, no future, no tomorrow. When an endling dies, millions of years of evolution die with it, forever. And unlike extinction, endlings have names, faces, stories. One of them was named Martha, a passenger pigeon. And that name doesn't sound important until you realize what her species once looked like. Passenger pigeons weren't rare. There were billions of them. Billions. Their flocks were so enormous that people described them as rivers flowing across the sky. They darkened the sun for hours, maybe even days. And then, within a single human lifetime, we destroyed almost all of them. Until eventually, there was one. Just one. Martha. Living alone inside the Cincinnati Zoo, the last passenger pigeon on Earth. When she died in 1914, an entire species vanished with her, and humanity learned a terrifying lesson. Even the most common animal on Earth can become the rarest. But perhaps the saddest story belongs to a frog named Toughie, a Rab's fringe-limbed tree frog from Panama. For years, Toughie lived alone in an aquarium in Atlanta, and every night, he called. Male frogs sing to attract females, but there were no females left. No other frogs, no answer. Imagine calling out into the darkness for years and hearing nothing back. In 2016, Toughie died, and with him, his species disappeared forever. But the most heartbreaking story isn't in the past. It's happening right now. The Northern White Rhino. As you're watching this, exactly 2 remain. Najin and her daughter, Fatu, both female. The last male, a rhino named Sudan, died in 2018. And when Sudan closed his eyes, an unbroken bloodline stretching back millions of years came to an end. Today, armed guards protect the last 2 females around the clock. They're alive. They're healthy. They're eating grass under the African sun. But they cannot save themselves. It's like watching a clock that only counts downward, never upward. But scientists aren't giving up, because what they're trying to do sounds like science fiction. Frozen sperm, lab-created embryos, surrogate mothers from a different rhino species. The goal? To bring northern white rhinos back from the edge. And somehow, against all odds, they've already created viable embryos. Waiting, frozen in time, tiny sparks of hope. Maybe, just maybe, the story isn't over yet. And that's when you realize something strange. The rarest animal possible isn't the Vaquita or the Saola or even the Northern White Rhino. The rarest animal possible isn't a species, it's a moment. The moment when a population reaches one. The moment an Endling becomes aware, or perhaps never realizes, that it stands alone. The moment before zero. Because zero isn't rare. Zero is nothing. One is the rarest number nature can produce. And here's the part that keeps biologists awake at night. Right now, somewhere on Earth, there may be an animal that is already the last of its kind. Not in a zoo, not in a laboratory, but hidden in a rainforest, on a mountain, in the depths of the ocean, completely unknown, living out the final chapter of a story that began millions of years ago, and we don't know its name, we don't know its face. And by the time we discover it, it might already be gone. At the beginning of this video, I promised to show you the rarest animal possible. And now, you know why I couldn't. Because no camera can capture it, no scientist can point to it, and no list can name it. The rarest animal possible is simply the last one. One final heartbeat, one final pair of eyes, one final creature standing at the edge of forever. And somewhere, right now, that animal is waiting, unseen, unknown, and perhaps already alone.